hustling, by doing the only thing I knew how to do, doors opened for me that I couldn't have otherwise imagined.
While other people are focused on impressing each other, people like me are winning on LinkedIn. Why? Because it's all about connecting.
I couldn't breathe if I wasn't an entrepreneur.
Welcome to the Startup Gambit, presented by HASTE and Hustle. I'm your co-host, SHAUNA Arnott.
And I'm DEVON operations here at HASTE and Hustle. And today we have Erwin Szeto, an investor-prenuer. I think I said that right. But for those of you that don't know, investor-prenuer is an entrepreneur in the investment space. So we're going to get into things, ask a ton of questions. But before we get there, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor.
What if I'm not ready?
What if I don't have all the answers?
What if I just keep going?
What if it doesn't go as expected?
What if this setback helps me see the bigger picture?
What if I realize how far I've come?
What if I remember I'm doing the best I can with what I've got?
Today,
Today,
I'm ready for what if.
Get ready for what if. Meridian, where banking feels good.
All right, sweet. We're back. Shauna, Erwin, so glad you guys are here today. How's it going?
It's beautiful here. Sean, I don't know where you are anymore. So when we were working together, I never knew where you were physically, geographically anyways.
I know.
It's lovely here in Ontario.
That's good. I heard you guys are still stuck in lockdown.
No, it's extended.
Just to rub it in a little.
Thanks so
I'm
much.
on Vancouver Island enjoying the warmth. And it's a beautiful sunny day here too. So I'm glad we're all experiencing great weather today. Now even though we're all obviously sitting inside.
Yes.
We should be doing this outside. Anyway, we're so happy to have you here today, Erwin. I have worked with you for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. And we've gotten to know each other really well. And I've always been very impressed with all the different businesses that you've kind of gotten involved in and all the different ways that you've grown your business and the connection you have to your community. And so I'd love for you to just take some time. We always give our guests a few minutes to just share a little bit about where they were from or where they, kind of came from in terms of entrepreneurship and what your businesses have been and how you've grown them and where you are now and what you're up to.
Oh, it's not the easiest answer. It's even hard to explain what I do. I do remember graduating from business school in 2002. So if anyone who remembers that year, it's not that different than today. I graduated the year of immediately following 9/11. Right, I remember going into class, and then 9/11 happened, and then that was my graduating year. So it was possibly one of the worst job markets to ever get into. No different than our poor graduates in this current market. So job opportunities were not great. I took a massive pay cut. At least I thought what I'd be earning coming out of school, and then I had a job. And then pretty soon on, when I was opening my pay stubs, I was realizing this isn't enough. Even though I was living at home, I had a girlfriend, which cost money. I had a car, a used car, still a car, cost money. And again, I was living at home, and even then there wasn't enough to actually generate any sort of savings. And so it's about that point where I started going down a journey of more continuous education, and I soon realized that I could make more money as a business owner than continuing on as an employee. So then I started investing in real estate again because but it was two-pronged approach though. First, I was still hedging in that I wasn't ready to be an entrepreneur at 22 years old, 25 years old. So I was continuing to try to create more value in my work, continue to get promoted, earn more money, get promoted. Then I switched jobs to earn even more money. And then when I was there, and then at one point I even switched departments again to make more money, get raises. And by being able to earn more work income, I was able to get more mortgages. And then by getting more mortgages, I was able to get more investment properties. Right. And then at a certain point, I can no longer work with the real estate broker I was working with. I come from a business background. I'm naturally analytical. A lot of decisions come down to numbers for me. The broker I was working with was more your everyday realtor. He was really, really good, but he didn't understand a lot of basic things that investors need to know, like screening tenants, like renovations that get you more rent, right? Choosing an area that has growth potential, right? Versus a traditional realtor is just, they're just trying to find something that meets your requirements, and it's usually based on a lot of soft things, like do you like this kitchen or not, right? Does it have enough yard space, right? Is it close to the school that you want? Like, these are not things that matter to me, because it all comes down to numbers for me, right? It's not to say that I don't buy properties near schools, because I do buy properties near universities, because that means I can get more rent, right? So it's a much different mentality, different understanding, and treating this like a business. So then we had to part ways because I decided I couldn't find anyone to work with, right? There was no realtor for me. So I went and got my own license to just service our own portfolio, my family's portfolio. But at the same time, I was also attending networking events. So for my own self-development and making friends and networking folks. And then some of the friends I met there, they said, "Hey, Erwin, I know you get your license, and I kind of want what you have. I'm just starting out. Can you help me have what you have?" Right? At that time, I already had 5 investment properties. So yeah, sure. And then I started taking on clients, and then I was making money. And then again, coming down to numbers, I sat down with a spreadsheet, and I realized if I give a serious go of this, I can make more money than staying at my day job. And I'll probably enjoy it more, because also I'm making a bigger difference in people's lives than working for a multinational, massive corporation, right? I had a wonderful job, I had a wonderful boss, but anyone who's listening to this as an entrepreneur, you have no price. There's no price to keep you there. And actually, I had that conversation with my boss, my director. After I resigned, my director asked me to come into her office the next day. She said, "Give me a number." And so I ducked the question by saying, "Your husband's an entrepreneur. What's his number?" She's like, "Yeah, I get it. There's no number." Right?
That was awesome.
There's no number.
That's a good
There's no number to keep me. Right? I've already checked out mentally. I'm still a professional. Like I still believe in acting in full ethical and moral. For example, whenever I was doing work, it was on my own time, right? Even when I was doing work in their office, I was doing it on my own time. So like after hours, I was using their fax machine when we faxed stuff back then. And then again, just to keep things simple, I determined that I would be the realtor that I wanted to work with. And I have very high standards, right? Again, no one in the market was good enough for me. Right? So I would become that person. And then my business grew as I kept attracting more clients. For anyone who's been following real estate for the last 20 years, it's been a good investment. So that naturally attracts attention, right? And then just getting referrals and then growing. And now I have a team of 4 full-time realtors. I'm actually hiring for 2 more. And that's how I became an investor-prenuer. My business is in the business of investing in real estate. Right. Amazing. I have my own real estate portfolio that I grow myself, that my wife and I own and manage. And then we help other people acquire investment real estate to achieve their own goals. Right?
Amazing.
Yeah. That's how everything started.
Do you think that's a pretty standard approach that all entrepreneurs take? They look for, markets that are lacking in what they see as professionalism or efficiencies, and they would just want to improve upon that. I know that's how it kind of worked for me. I saw ways that I could make things better, and I wasn't within the job I was doing. I wasn't given the freedom to do that. They didn't want, they just wanted you to kind of check in and check out and fill your time as you were told. But I saw the market, and I knew that there was ways I could make a difference. And I think, you looked at it the same way, right? And I often see that in entrepreneurs. Do you think that's a necessary requirement as an entrepreneur?
I think it's definitely a step. Because there's too much stuff about there, like follow your passion, you'll never know work another day in your life. My passion is not being a realtor.
Yeah.
My passion is helping people. And this was my means of doing so, but also with a lot of business decisions around it.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, there was no supply of real estate professionals who could service investors, right? And on the other side, there was demand for it, right? I demanded it. I had demand for it, and then I had a whole network of folks who were demanding it as well, just in a specific market. Because I originally started servicing Hamilton, Ontario, and my brand was Mr. Hamilton, and I wore a Hamilton Tiger Cats jersey. Everyone knew what I was talking about. I adopted the most well-known brand for that city, and I would wear it and I would market towards real estate investors. Right. So it was well out of my comfort zone. I'm naturally an introvert. I don't like having random conversations with folks. I don't like putting myself out there, but also like it has to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I can relate to that in the sense that, or at an event, one of my very first events I ever did, I got up, the leadership team from the Hamilton Tiger Cats were in the audience. So I knew the one guy and I asked him if he had a jersey, and he's like, yeah, I have one in my trunk. And I'm like, can I borrow it just for this like event? And he said, sure. So he goes out, gets it for me. So then I go out on stage to like welcome everybody, and I had put the jersey on over my dress. And to this day, I still have relationships with those people. I think I just made such a big impact. It was kind of funny. Anyway, I digress. I just remember that story and I had to share it. But I think it's important
it's an important lesson.
It's important when you know who your market is and you know how to gain the attention and you know how to, really kind of work your way into their hearts and endear yourself to them. That immediately builds a deeper relationship just by doing silly, fun, different things and standing out that way, right? So yeah, you're right. There's some value there.
Standing it out, but also being one of them.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, and definitely in Hamilton, that's an important thing. Anyone who's not from Hamilton listening to this, Hamiltonians are huge Tiger Cats fans and very proud of it. So, as they should be. Anyway.
And for anyone who doesn't know, if you're not from Toronto, everyone hates Toronto.
Oh yeah. There's a big rivalry between those two teams. I used to go to the Labor Day Classic every year. And it's pretty fun. Anyway, good times in Hamilton. So I'd love for you now. We can switch gears a little bit because I think it's really important. As entrepreneurs, one of the biggest things that any business owner is going to struggle with is figuring out how to manage their cash flow and build a solid strategy around finances, right? And I know that obviously between you and your wife, Cherry, you managed to do a really good job of that, helping support people do that. But I'd love to know how you used your investments to further your business. Like what were the steps that you, and what are some steps that you can recommend entrepreneurs, new business owners use, even if they're right at the very beginning and they don't have a ton of cash flow yet or a ton of liquidity, what are things that they can do to start using investments and building investments to leapfrog them and help build their cash flow.
So something I did at the very beginning before I left my job was when I made a determination that I can make more money and also enjoy life more by quitting corporate and starting my own business, I booked a 4-week sabbatical. So it's completely legitimate. It was almost like at least I have 4 weeks to go cold turkey work job, and then do this full time. See if I can give it a go. See if I actually like it. So I did a test. I believe in testing like everything, right? So that way, if the new business does not work out at all, and I'm unhappy after 4 weeks, I have my job. I go back, and then like they don't even know what I was doing, right? We can just go back to how it was. So I always believe in hedging as well, right? And then when I made the decision that after the 4 weeks was over, I went back to work. When I resigned down to part-time. Right. So then I could still keep some income coming in. Again, hedging. I wasn't willing to burn that bridge. I wasn't willing to go cold turkey on a regular pay.
I think that's smart. I mean, no matter what, you still have to bring in income in some way. And a lot of entrepreneurs have to do a side hustle for a while in order to make that work. Or there comes time in your business where you've mismanaged something for a bit and you have to go back and maybe take a job for a few months. You know, you have to be willing to make some of those sacrifices. So I think that, as you say, hedging is a smart decision. Anyway,
and I never burnt that bridge.
And it
I
comes
see some people saying like burn that bridge, so then you can't go back.
I've seen
like,
that
I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Oh, me neither.
No,
me neither.
I'm glad you said that. I've seen that, and people like, you know, you got to jump in. And I really like the transition is important because, you know, something that when you think about entrepreneurship, people are like, yeah, you want that freedom. You want it's like it gives you the freedom to do things on your own time and in different ways, but it doesn't have to be your entire passion, but it gives you that freedom to maybe work from where you want and whatnot. And I think that's really important. I really like the transition, that part-time and that sabbatical. I actually do like kind of like retreats now to myself where I'll take that time, even if I'm not thinking about entrepreneurship, just for other things in life, you know? So I think that's actually a really good way to transition. Something that small business owners, anyone that's kind of trying to move can really use that technique.
Like,
well, and the reality is,
like for SHAUNA, why would you ever burn a bridge? Like some of these people might become your client in the future.
Exactly. So important. Right. Yeah, I think it's really important to maintain positive relationships with anyone you've worked with, and I've always been the same way. You know, like any job I ever did, I did it ethically, and I worked really hard. But just kind of getting back to what you were saying, I think it's important to understand that, you know, if you're trying to become an entrepreneur because you want freedom, you know, jumping in with 2 feet and not making a proper plan and not like, you know, hedging or being careful, you know, you're going to end up in a position where you don't have any freedom because you don't have any money to do anything to, you know, that does kind of provide you. I mean, yeah, maybe you're going to end up in a position where you're not doing anything that you like, and that's going to make it very hard. And then you're going to have to go back to that job anyway. So, anyway.
And I was already building a client list.
Yep.
Right. Like there was no clear line between one and the other, between job and entrepreneurship. I was always working on building a client list, even when I didn't know I was building a client list. Just by networking, being out there, and like I wasn't like trying to recruit people as clients. It was just like, hey, it was like knowledge sharing, being cool. Because again, I didn't have a license. I didn't have intention of even becoming a realtor until I actually did. It was just like, you know, I come from a place of wanting to help people.
Yep.
Yeah, and then that business just grew like crazy. I had to hire agents pretty quickly. Because I believe in scaling up, and then I just naturally cannot keep doing the same job over and over again. So I need to evolve. I get bored of stuff and I need to evolve and move up.
That's great.
Then, every business, you know,
so thinking
every
about
entrepreneur should understand
scaling
that.
and
oh, sorry.
Of course. Sorry to cut you off there. Thinking of scaling and moving up, going back to the cash flow like we talked about earlier on, were you using cash flow from investment properties? Like, what are some of the sources of funding that you were using or that you think people should use when it comes to, you know, kind of building that portfolio or going the route you did? Was it just all cash flow from investment properties or elsewhere?
So Sean, I actually have shared with you how we funded the Wealth Hacker Conference.
I don't. Oh, actually, I remember. I know, but you go ahead and tell everyone.
So when leaving the job, it was funded by my income, right? That's how I was able to leave. I always lived frugally. Like the first house we bought was $154,000, right? Actually, my now ex-wife bought it, but that's the house we moved into. We were mortgage free by the age of 30, right? And then also combined with frugal living. You know, we didn't have a lot of debts. Don't drive. You know, I believe if you have a job, you should not drive a fancy car, right? You should try to minimize all your expenses. Don't dress fancy. Don't eat fancy. So just being frugal, right? And then so that was 2008-ish, 2008, 2010, somewhere around there. Fast forward to 2019 when SHAUNA and I met, because we had this crazy idea of putting on a conference that was, I don't know if do people share how much their budget was for conferences? it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
Well,
money.
it sort of grew as we planned it, because I think when we first started it was going to be like maybe 1,000 people, and then we were thinking.
No, the conversations before we talked to you were like 30 people.
Oh, right.
when the plan got over 600 people, then we probably need help. Oh, meet my friend Shauna.
Yeah.
So the original budget was very, very small, and it grew. But like Devon's asking me about cash flow, Cherry and I had not big businesses, but we had businesses. We had income coming in. We have savings. I've been investing in real estate since 2005. Anyone who's followed the market since then, knows the market's done really well. We had access to several sizable lines of credit on each of our properties, secured on the homes. So the term is home equity line of credit. So it's a line of credit that's secured on our houses. So it's really, really cheap. It's like the cheapest money you can get. So we had lots of available lines of credit. And then also understanding like not everything's going to work out, just in case. Our worst case was that we would have to sell one of our houses, right? We'd have to sell one of our investment properties. And if when things went to crap, that's the worst case. So then like any business decision, are you okay with the worst case? And then you also plan for best cases. Right?
Yeah.
So I can take bigger risks because a lot of people don't do these things because it is a lot of work. But also, again, worst case is that they give up like 10% of my portfolio. Right? It's not the end of the world. It's not something I can't recover from.
Yeah. I like how you said, are you comfortable with the worst case? Like Tillman Fertitta does that. Like when he's investing in restaurants or whatever, worst case, if that's what he's willing to live with, he'll do the deal. Now, okay, someone in the position, they're thinking about, scaling up, they have a business running or whatnot, they own their home. Do you suggest that they take that equity line of credit against their own property if they don't have another one and take that gamble against themselves when the worst case affects where they live? Like, do we look for alternative sources there? What would you say about something like that?
I can be a bit controlling.
Okay,
it's a bit of a personal decision, of course. But like I said, home equity lines is the cheapest money you can get. In my experience working with investors on a regular basis, 95% of them are funding their investments with their home equity lines of credit, both for real estate and for stock, what we call stock hacking, buying stocks, stock options. And that's honestly where I see a lot of people just taking their money from to build businesses. Like, for example, it was a competing conference. I won't name him, but I met a gentleman who was designing an insurance software service app and everything. And how is he funding it? Whenever he needed to raise capital, he'd sell one of the pre-construction condos he owned. Right. And that was part of how I got into real estate was, I had big ideas. I was young, fresh grad. And I was thinking, like, real estate, that sounds boring, right? It's not for me. I have big ideas. And then my partner said to me, well, this is like your ways of financing your big ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and then just quick comparison to like Elon Musk, for example, PayPal was never his dream. Right. That was just making money. Right. And then as soon as he quits PayPal, what's do? Start SpaceX.
Yeah.
Right. So you I personally don't believe in always having to follow your passions. I believe you have to do things that you don't want to do. Because if it was so easy, everyone would make a lot of money. Right. I often believe that you have to do the things that no one else is willing to do or can't do in order to create a lot of value.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like that Elon Musk reference because, he took all the money he made off of PayPal and sunk it into SpaceX and Tesla at the time. And
you can argue the better investment was to keep PayPal.
Yeah.
Because PayPal's gone up like 10x.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Since he sold it. And he didn't even want to sell. Right.
I know. All those PayPal mafia people. I was just looking.
I was going to say, but the mafia, they've got the power. They got the muscle.
I know. Yeah, but I think it's important. I remember the very first time I ever had a connection to Gary Vaynerchuk. I was invited to be one of the people who asked a question on his show. I submitted a question and they accepted me. And so I asked it, and the question was, how much risk is too much risk financially? And because at the time I was planning Haste and Hustle and I had taken way too much risk, like way too, I basically don't even know what risk is. Anyway, and so I was feeling it. And he said, if you are in a position where you've leveraged yourself and you've put your family and yourself in a position where you have no wiggle room and you could put them on the street, essentially. He's like, that's too much risk. But aside from that, like, pull yourself back just a bit and you're okay. But he's like, you just never put your family and yourself in a situation where you can't live properly. And I thought that was,
Really agree.
I agree too. And I think, every business is, almost every business is self-funded at the beginning. I mean, you do have to use your own money to get things going. And hopefully you can then either, generate enough cash flow and revenue through the sale of your widget or whatever it is that you sell or build or make or service. Or you're going to then go out and find investors that can, help, boost you along. But ultimately, you do have to be willing to start with some of your own, cash first. And I think that people have a hard time making that jump because that's their hard-earned cash, right? And I think that that's almost like the differentiator between entrepreneurs and workers. People get too comfortable. So anyway, I like that.
Yeah. Difference between the people who go for it and the mediocre.
Yeah, people that don't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time calling people mediocre only because that's just not who they are. I have a lot of friends who are, and we need people who don't take that risk, right?
Totally.
If everyone was taking the risk, we wouldn't have anyone to do the work.
No, I don't mean that as an offensive term. I believe it's accurate. Like my cousin, who has no ambition, just all he want. If he could do it all his life, he would just play video games, right? But he joined the Canadian military. Now he's a mechanic, and he's going to be trained to work on our helicopters. Nice. He's going to make a really good money doing it. He's going to live for cheap because he stays on base. So he's really cheap, right? They're going to feed him. He's going to get to work out for free. He's going to get basically paid to work out too. And he gets a pension, right? Right. That is fantastic for him. Me, I'd kill myself. Yeah. I know. Right.
I know. And I think
there's nothing wrong with that.
No. And
he's achieving a high level for who he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Is
there's something to be said?
Let's call it like it is is that a high achiever? Right. There's nothing wrong with he's doing great.
No, yeah. I agree there. And there's something to be said for being content. And I mean, it's something, despite my aspirations and my entrepreneurial spirit and whatnot, like I am striving for contentment and getting to a point where that I feel comfortable and I work and travel and kind of do things that I feel comfortable and I'm not like pressured. Sometimes we feel that entrepreneurial pressure that like I'm not satisfied, I'm not proud of who I am yet, so I'm going to keep on driving. But essentially we have to know that if we can't strive for contentment, then we'll be on an elevator or an escalator that of that continuous need and it will never be happy. And so I mean, essentially at some level I'm kind of striving for what your cousin has, or some individual that is comfortable working their job and hanging out with their family and doing nothing else but that, So, I mean, another way to look at it.
Yeah, but, as long as you're happy, if that's makes you happy, great. For a lot of successful people, they're never happy.
Yeah.
I largely include myself among one of them. I have lots of gratitude for what I have and what I've achieved and what the things I enjoy, but it's still a large part of me. It will never be happy.
Yeah,
that's funny. I was wanting to chat with you a little bit and about cryptocurrency because I know you and I were chatting about it recently, and Devon and I have been doing all sorts of research into NFTs and some smaller cryptos that are kind of coming up the ranks right now. And so I know it's something that you've been kind of delving into lately. And so I'd love to kind of chat with you a little bit about what strategies or how you think that the crypto market is going to start impacting the business market.
Okay, so first I'd like to say I'm a real estate investor because I'm a business person first.
Yeah.
My properties are all on land, right? And land is what's in high demand.
Yeah.
You cannot recreate it. It's incredibly difficult to develop it. Wherever you guys are, just read your local headlines. There's always local governments trying to stop developments, real estate developments.
Yep.
So, and then on the immigration side, we live in Canada. Doesn't matter who's in power at the federal level. They're all trying to compete to see who can bring in more immigrants, it seems.
Yeah.
Right? Before Harper, record immigration. During Harper, record immigration. And now under the Trudeau government, even greater, higher, new levels of record immigration.
Yeah.
Right? So there's more demand for my product. Right? I have a product that's that you cannot create more supply for. So that's why I invest in real estate. That's one of the main reasons I invest in real estate. Right? So what I like about crypto, and now I'll narrow that down. My focus is so I'm also a very, very small gold investor for the same reason. It's a hard asset, really difficult. You cannot basically recreate it, right? Because the government can print money. The pandemic has proven. The U.S. government increased the money supply by about 25% in about a year. So you can create a lot more of that, right? So it's like the opposite of gold and real estate. Now, Bitcoin, which is my preferred crypto, is pretty much the only thing I invest in. Again, it is by definition harder than gold, as it is even harder to create more of it, and there will be a cap. Eventually, there'll be a cap. I'm not super science fully researched probably as you guys are even, but from my understanding is it is an even harder asset than gold.
Yep.
And based on the history of money, so if anyone doesn't know the history of money, love the book by Sifedin Amos. I can't recall the name of the book right now.
It's all good. We'll throw that into the show notes, and it'll be there for listeners and for you.
But even if you don't believe in Bitcoin, it's a wonderful history of money. And based on the history of money is always there's only ever been one winner. Whenever there's a battle between currencies, there's only ever one winner. The current winner, we're talking like 5 years ago, no doubt about it, everyone would say gold is the standard, right? Like the world essentially operates on the gold standard.
Yeah.
But before the gold standard, places like India and the UK, they were on silver standards. Right. But with pretty much the rest of the world was on gold standard. Right. So then gold defeated silver. Big problem with silver is, based on what I read, is if the price of silver makes sense, they can increase supply by 10% a year. Right. Gold is low 2%. If the price of gold is great, the most they can mine for more gold is like low 2%. Yeah. Right. So just straight numbers, gold is harder than silver. Gold beats silver. And then what happened to those who were holding silver, like the UK and like India? Their currency was completely devalued. They had to eventually convert to gold.
Yeah.
Right. And now we're just seeing history repeat itself, maybe, because gold has been devaluing, and there's been money printing going on like crazy. So that doesn't make any sense. So who's gold losing to? One just has to break up a chart on Bitcoin to understand who is gold losing to.
Right. That's
so Bitcoin is doing to gold what gold did to silver, and what silver and gold did to every other currency before in its time. Right. So that's why my interest is only in Bitcoin. I'm a busy person. I still keep things simple. I'm not that smart. That's why I invest in real estate. There's like no easier business or investment. Same thing with Bitcoin. I like things simple. That's why I sell stock options, because it's simple, right? I don't.
So you're probably
direction. Sorry.
No, sorry, I keep on cutting you off. So safe to say you're like a hodler, like you're buying and holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
Yeah, long term.
Because I'm in it for the long term. Like
Yeah.
again, historically, I'm not saying that it's going to completely wipe out the dollar and stuff like that, but there's probably a lot of global currencies that will go away. Right? Because just think, like here's a very easy example I think everyone can appreciate. Say you're in Africa. Say you're in one of the poor countries of Asia, right? And if you have any savings, are you going to hold it in your current currency, in your home currency, in your country's currency?
No.
The governments everywhere are printing money like crazy.
Yeah, come on.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Right?
I said we saw what happened to Zimbabwe. Yeah.
And
currency is like.
Yeah, it's, in my world, we always say cash is trash. Like, you want to have some cash on hand to be able to do stuff with. Cash flow is king. Holding cash is trash. And then I thought this just the other day is like, Elon said something about this as well. He's saying like to me, holding cash is crazy. So holding gold is slightly less crazy. And in my opinion, holding Bitcoin is slightly less crazy. And then the least crazy is real estate. Right? Not all real estate. Like, hold good real estate.
Yeah.
The stuff that everyone has crazy demand for. Right? Like in my market, rents keep going up because there's so much demand to rent our properties. The land value keeps going up because there's so much demand for it. Right? Not all real estate's going to go up. Just invest wisely. Right. And then the same thing with Bitcoin. I don't believe that these other altcoins, based on history, it'll always go back to one currency.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I agree there. I think the biggest thing is you got to diversify with some of the coins, I guess. But I think the biggest thing is that finding out the players that'll be there 5-10 years from now, because of course most of them will evaporate. But one thing with cryptocurrency that I think is something to consider is that some of these currencies have utility outside of just the currency, like which Ethereum. I think adds another pocket. Yeah, exactly Ethereum, which adds another pocket that is worthwhile. So personally, I'm kind of looking for Bitcoin as the gold standard, which we probably can't even say that anymore. It'll just
digital gold.
Make no sense. But then also Ethereum, digital gold is a digital gold. Yeah, and then Ethereum is probably hands down the utility currency that I'm hedging on. My bets are on that. So I guess it kind of continuing with all this, and this is kind of ridiculous, but what are your thoughts, if you care to share them, on Doge? What are your thoughts on Dogecoin?
I have no idea.
I just have to ask everyone. I know it's not. Just want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, again, I just don't have that kind of time and I don't have the stomach to see how it fluctuates, right? And also the people that are like friends of mine, like they'll make money with these altcoins. Like, there's nothing wrong. I'll never disagree with anyone who's trying to make money ethically, safely, right, morally correct. Like, if they're making money, they're trading altcoins. But you know what they're doing with the profits they do? They roll it back into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. So if someone's going to do one, this is what everybody else is doing. I believe this is what's taught out there as well. If you're going to make money somewhere, reinvest those profits in something safer.
Yeah.
Right. Like gold, Bitcoin. I haven't mentioned this, but I am completely overweighted real estate. Right. Like, I believe somewhere like 90% of my net worth is in real estate.
Yeah.
Right. Partly because it built its way up there. That's all.
That's great. It's safe. It's
boring.
good, and it's growing like crazy.
It's boring. It's not brainless, but it does not require any sort of significant IQ. Right?
Wow.
It doesn't. Right? In my opinion.
Strategic
I'm not that
thinking.
smart.
You're smart.
Not that smart.
I do believe that anyone can do it if they take the time to really learn it and become strategic about it and have.
They don't even have to. How good am I at event planning, Shauna? I didn't have to learn it all and figure it all out. That's when I hired a really, really good one. Right?
Got a point.
I was like,
point,
do I have to answer this on?
Like people, a
Love the
wonderful book.
humility, Connor.
There's a wonderful book called Who Not How,
Mhm.
right? If I want to go
Nice.
fast, I get someone to help me,
Mhm.
right? Like, for example, I stink at golf. I'm really, golf is hard, right? And for anyone and it's a great analogy for anyone, go try learn golf on your own. And then you go work with a golf pro.
Mhm.
And I realized, holy crap, there's all these things I wasn't doing right at all. Right?
It's true.
You just get up the learning curve so much faster.
Yeah.
Yes, it costs money. Right? And the other analogy is people going to the gym. I think it's kind of anyone who's good at going to the gym knows what I'm talking about. Most 8 out of 10 people in there have no idea what they're doing. No idea how to use a machine properly. They have poor technique. They're doing like if they're some poor weight choices, as in like too heavy, too light, whatever. Because people won't pay for a professional to teach them.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. So I don't believe it's actually you don't need to know everything, because I don't even think I know everything still. Right, about real estate, because I truly don't. But I'll always have. I always know I can find someone that knows better than I do.
I like that.
I still use lawyers and paralegals and accountants and stuff like that. I have an event planner, right? To me, you can try to do stuff on your own completely, bootstrap completely. You go farther. You go farther if you have people that are quality people that can help you.
Yeah. My mom actually taught me that at a young age. I remember her, she was like buying a computer system for her, for the office. And this is sort of in the early 90s when computers were really just starting to make a huge impact. And I was like, how do you know how to do that? And she's like, I just surround myself with professionals. And I thought that was such good advice, because you have to, it's just like solving for your weaknesses and, and your,
definitely.
You don't know. So no, that's really good advice. Well, I know we're kind of coming to an end here, and I want to honor your time, and I'm so grateful that you've been here. Before you go, I'd love to know if you have one like really key piece of advice for anyone who's thinking about starting a business or who has just started a business. What would be, it doesn't have to just be one, it could be a couple of items, would be your advice as to how to get started, how to do well, what to be thinking about early on that often people don't, hindsight stuff.
I'd start off with thinking about every entrepreneur has to have enough motivation to do it. And I don't believe everyone knows how to. I actually believe you can manufacture a lot of the motivation.
What do you mean by that?
So one business we haven't talked about is my charity. It really is like a business, sort of. It's not very good at making money. but it is an operation. Hamilton Basket Brigade is the charity that I co-founded. I preside over. My wife and I obviously we're board members, and we're also the number one donors. Right? So terrible business.
You're number one now?
Sucks money. So anyone who's done any volunteer work, or even better, if you've actually helped organize volunteers, you will have an appreciation that how hard it is to keep it going, to keep donations coming in, to keep volunteers coming back. Right? It's not easy, because in my experience, a lot of people won't do things unless you pay them. They won't keep doing things unless you pay them. Right? But for me, I just keep going. Been doing this since 2014, 3 times a year. I'm pretty much the only one who showed up to everything, right? Because my motivation is higher than everybody else's. That's why else? Why else do I keep showing up and nobody else does? Why am I the biggest donor? Right? Because it's not easy. It's not easy. But then I don't know if I manufactured the motivation, but growing up, I watched a lot of cartoons like G.I. Joe, Transformers. I absolutely love Marvel movies, Avengers. And then I always remember back, like I love Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man movies, all of them. I love them all. But the funny thing, the thing that people love about Spider-Man, why it was such a popular comic, because he's not the most powerful. Superman's the best, right? No doubt. Like Superman can beat everybody, right? But why did people like Spider-Man so much? Because he wasn't perfect. Because he struggled with wanting to be a hero, right? Because he wanted to give it up. At times he did. At times he gave it up to try to be normal. And I've always thought to myself, I would never give it up, right?
Nice.
That's really cool.
The mission is bigger than me, right? The ability to impact change like Spider-Man does is way bigger than me, right? And then in turn, I've always wanted to be a hero. I don't have any superpowers, right? So, but I still need to influence change. It's in my nature to have to influence change. So then what drives me absolutely mad is the idea of kids not being able to eat, because it's completely unfair to them. They had no control in this decision. They didn't ask to be born, right? It's my belief that parents owe their kids everything because you decided to have them, right? Not all parents are capable. So how is that fair to the child that they can't eat? So that's why we started the Ask Brigade, right? We targeted, just grassroots. We went to schools. Actually, my good friend, he went to his kids' school principals and said, "Hey, we want to do this for families. We want to provide them at the time Christmas dinner, right? Can you give me 6 names, right? Because we're each going to do 3 families, and then we're going to anonymously deliver them. Just like, hey, I'm the delivery guy. Here's food. Here's a Christmas. Here's food. Here's Christmas. Here's everything you need for Christmas dinner, right? But I also told him, like, we do all right. We're not going to say no to anybody, right? So he goes, okay. So I send him to go get six names. He comes back with 12. Like, okay, I really need some help. And so then Christmas 2014, like that 6 grew to 36. And then for Easter the next year, we did 75. Thanksgiving, we did 150. Christmas, we did 225. This is 2015. And it just kept growing from there. And then we just kept having to recruit people because we needed help. But then there's always a thing called donor fatigue, volunteer fatigue, right? And then, but the mission was still bigger than me. Hence, we had to step up and become the biggest donor.
Yeah.
Right. So again, like, I think if anyone wants to be successful in anything, your reason for doing it has to be bigger than anything.
Yeah.
Right. Because I give up weekends. I would give up weekends all the time. I give up nights all the time. Right. Less so now. Like for the conference, we give up a lot of our time.
Of course.
Right. Because the mission was bigger. Right. So you have to start with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think everyone has that in them. So like dig deep, folks. Like ask those hard questions.
And I think that's where it becomes beyond just the paycheck and the money, right? When you have, a lot of people think, oh, I just want to be an entrepreneur so I can be rich. But if you don't have that, what you're saying, that deeper motivation to inspire you and motivate you to do the work that you need to do to earn the money, you won't actually earn the money the same way. Or it'll be very hard at least. So I think that's where
you may give up when it's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Because there's lots of hard times.
I know.
Shauna, I don't need to remind you.
I know. I'm an event planner and it's COVID.
In a pandemic.
I know.
Well, what do you mean we can't have even 20 people in a room together?
I know. I know.
Right?
Yeah, it's a marathon.
Yeah, it's a marathon.
The game is infinite. You got to think long term, not just now and next year. It's got to be like,
next year.
How far out are we going?
Yeah. Exactly.
How far out? I'm sorry. Let me just finish this point. Then
go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll respect your time.
No worries.
No, it's okay. I actually got another question for you afterwards. So just go ahead.
Entrepreneurs will get this, especially the people who want more successes. Like, what is your legacy going to look like? Right. Like for me, and I've had some people say this is too small. Is when I leave this world, I want to leave behind a $10 million foundation for my charities. So that I have so it's 10 million of invested capital. My objective is for it to produce 10% every year in cash flow, right? So that'll be $1 million for an operating budget for the charity.
Yeah,
$1 million can easily help me. Can easily help the charity support around 400 families, right? So now work it backwards. What if I don't do this? Right? What if the foundation doesn't exist when I'm gone? These 400 families originally we used to do holiday dinners. So these 400 families 3 times a year will not be able to eat Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? How do I feel about that? Right? Because first of all, you have to believe that you are capable of doing it. Right? I have no idea how I'm gonna get there. But if I don't achieve it, I'll be pretty disappointed with myself.
Yeah.
Right. So when those dark days are dark, remember that is the objective. That is the mission.
I think that is such great advice, because at the very beginning of a business journey, in the life cycle of an entrepreneur, you're not necessarily thinking about the social impact that you can have, right? Because you're too busy trying to make your business work. But if you can start your business with an idea in mind of how you want to help and how you want to, and the impact and the legacy that you want to have down the road, that will then provide you the motivation and the inspiration to keep going within the business. So I think, tying this all back into being an entrepreneur and building social impact. I mean, we've kind of gone into the social impact side of things. If you can find that way to build that into your business right from the get-go, that'll keep you pushing forward, I think, if that's something that you're truly inspired to do and you feel a strong devotion to do. So I love that. Yeah, great advice.
And folks can start small.
Yeah, of course.
Just make the mission around supporting your kids, for example.
Yep, exactly.
Right? Get them through medical school debt-free. Right?
Exactly.
You can manufacture these things, motivation.
Exactly. I love that. And even for the foundation, I mean, start with 5 families like you were going to do, or 6 families. Start small and it'll grow. And as you grow, you'll find the money and you'll find the motivation and it'll start to really resonate. So I love that. All right. Well, let's let Devon, you ask your final question and then we'll wrap up here.
We're jumping back in a little bit, but give the best response you feel given the time you have. Earlier on, it kind of stuck out to me. We were talking about finding the right people, and I was thinking about screening, and you have to screen your tenants and whatnot. I was wondering if there's any parallels for how you screen your tenants, or for what an entrepreneur could use to screen the person they want to work with. Maybe is there something that you see in a person and right away you're just like, yes, and then you decide to give them a trial because you work on trials? Or is there something else? Or do you ask them a specific set of questions? I know that FBI profiling, which, as controversial as it is, they have a very random stat that says if anyone shows up to be a tenant and they have writing on their shirt, they get an X automatically, which is so strange. It's like, how does that relate? But when they've looked at thousands and thousands of people. So I guess I was just wondering, what is something that you do? What's your gut feeling, or what's your specific tell that'll allow you to think about, the person you want to work with? And, can that be applied to picking a partner or picking people to work with?
Devon, it's a very broad question. It's hard to answer because screening a tenant, very different than how I screen SHAUNA, for example.
Okay, yeah.
So how I screen SHAUNA, for example, is she doesn't know this probably, because we have a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah,
it's really easy to find who our mutual friends are, and just go on Facebook, who's our mutual friends, and I start asking them. Right?
Oh, I knew.
You probably found out after. I didn't tell you I was going to do this.
Well, I found out from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was good. No, right? We all do the same thing. It's good. I'm teasing.
Because I have my own podcast and I do the same thing. I'll have someone ask to come on my podcast. I'm like, oh, I don't know them. So usually the first thing I do is go to Facebook, see who our mutual friends are. Might scroll through their stuff. Or I remember one person, I think that person did business with somebody in the past. So then I'll go to that person and how'd that work out? This person has to be on my podcast. Would you have them on your podcast? No. Done. Right? It's like, I don't need grief. Life is short.
Yeah.
Life is short. I've heard some other terms from around hiring as well as hire slow, fire fast. Right? That would be accurate in my experience. Yeah. Hire slow, do your personality test, check references they don't give you. Right? Go through their work, keep asking them for like samples of their work if you need to. Right.
It's true.
And then, the ultimate test, Shauna, we went through a frigging conference and there were some dark times. We got it done. You got rehired for a reason.
Thank goodness.
Right? There are dark times for the beginner, right?
There's always, yeah. The first conference is always a challenge.
No different than the first rental property, first investment property. You always think like, oh my God, the tenant gave me notice. It's over.
Yeah.
People seriously think that, right?
Oh yeah. My first rental property, man, we had some, I remember going over there and they had gone away for the weekend and I looked in the window. I had access to this one area of the house that was the basement so I could go in, but I could see in the windows of the house where I wasn't allowed to go. They'd left all the ceiling fans on, all the lights on. I went in, the house was like so hot. And I just remember getting these huge, because it was like electric heat. It was up in Sudbury. And I got these huge bills. Like it was ridiculous. And they had the cheapest rent. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh. And then they had all these pets that that didn't tell us about. So it became like a nightmare. But it was a good lesson in how to screen tenants and how to screen people and ask the right questions and, and hold to your guns when people say, oh, can I get a dog? Can I get a cat? Can I get a rat?
Right.
6 hamsters.
Right. So a lot of technology's changed since then too.
I'm sure. And I was a university student trying to just, fund my own existence at the time. So anyway, but yeah, no, great advice and great interview. Thank you for being here. So this is, we're just, thanks. Well, we're happy to have you on here and just, having worked with you in the past and currently, of course, and just seeing all the work that you do and all the passion that you have to help people. It's always been something that has resonated so strongly with me. And that's why I really enjoy working with you and Cherry as well, your wife. So yeah, it's an honor to have you on here. And I'm glad that you were able to share with my community. And so before we go, just quickly tell people if they want to find you, where can they find you?
I'm on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My name's impossible to spell. Devon show notes are excellent.
Yeah, we'll put them in all the show notes so you can reach out. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
My own podcast that's around these topics, and
Oh, that's right. Erwin does have a great podcast. We'll link to it in the show notes.
You've been on it twice.
I know. That's
how excellent it is.
That's right. Those are the best episodes. Just kidding. Awesome. Well, it's great to see you, and thank you again. And we will be talking soon. Thanks.
Awesome. Good to see you, Shauna. Thanks, Devon.